bringing you inside the USL Championship and League One.
Segmer's got there, Marquinhos! He's been knocking on the door! He knocks it down!
Diving into all the biggest stories and top headlines.
You are ripping and roaring today.
This is USL All Access.
It's almost impossible to recreate that level of magic.
With Mike Watts and Devon Kerr on Sirius XM FC.
Welcome, everyone, to a new edition of USL All Access on this Tuesday night. Emmett McConnell's at the controls. Devon Kerr is across the Zoom screen from me. Mike Watts as well. Can't wait to be joined by league legend Cameron Lancaster later on in the show. Find out why he's wearing number 53. Don't find out what he thinks about Big Ange getting the hook at Tottenham. Those two are related, but not actually conversed about. Also, we've got a big national TV game coming up on Wednesday night, Louisville City and Rhode Island FC. There's a little playoff revenge drama. Also, there's some coaching news to chat about. We'll get you caught up on where the title race stands in the regular season. Dev, before we get going, my man Joe Malfa, hero stepping in last week and the week prior. Have you slept? You know I haven't. Have you slept?
Well, that was going to be my opening comment to you was, how are you feeling? What's going on? We'll get there in a second. Missed you, man. Always a little bit more somber when you're not here. Happy to talk smack about you on a different recorded line that you can go back and listen to on the Sirius XM app. I have slept officially, second longest stretch in my life without sleeping. Had an opportunity to break that down for Danny Cruz and the match that will be on national television tomorrow. You got an idea of things that I've done in my life, good or bad, and feeling good. Special thanks, by the way, to Bobby Dooley, the main man over in Phoenix. Apparently this was sent some time ago. I can neither confirm nor deny, and I'm referencing the Phoenix Rising black jersey that does have a star above it. It was sitting in my closet, hadn't seen it. We had a phone call on the weekend. He said, hey, sent you something. I go, dude, there's nothing there. Walked into my closet this morning. There was something there. I don't know if I should blame Casey, my wife, or not, or if it did just, in fact, show up. I can tell you this. Given the state that you're in, don't you point a finger at that young lady who just birthed you with a child. Thank you, by the way, for naming his middle name after my middle name, Raymond, regardless of you sharing it or not. And what is your current frame of mind? Bro, you got to be in it a week and a half into fatherhood.
Oh, yeah, no. It's and right before Father's Day, in which I won't be here. So we are celebrating on Tuesday, and he is celebrating by crying a little bit more.
That's how that works, by the way.
That's how he's conversing at this stage. Yeah, I'm learning from the father of three across from me about how to sort of go through it, and my wife remains an absolute saint. So with all of that in mind, Olivia, I love you. Let's get to work. Las Vegas does not love Antonio Nocerino in the same way, it turns out. Look, last week, obviously, the news that Gavin Glinton is out in Oakland. You and Joe chatted about the addition of Benny Feilhaber, not far behind that news. I haven't had a chance to comment on Gavin to this point, so I'm just going to take 30 seconds and hit this on my own, and then we'll jump into the news in Las Vegas. I appreciated Gavin Glinton. He really warmed up as the year went along. He spoke about trying to get that team on the right track, and at the tail end of last year, he did. There is a difference, I think, between roster investment and where they think they belong at times. If you're waiting for that group to crack the top four, then you better be willing to pay Pep to come handle that roster. I'm not saying there's no talent. I'm just saying that the depth of it does not extend to the point of some of the top teams in either conference. All that in mind, we've done this now like 3 times where we got half a year in with this guy and we're going to flip to the next guy. And he does pretty well, so we're going to go half a year with him, and then we're going to flip to the next guy. I hope desperately that Benny bucks that trend, because it's almost impossible in this league to succeed in quicksand. You cannot consistently flip over everything and win anymore. It was that way 5 years ago, 8 years ago. The best weren't doing it, but you could be really successful and get away with it. those days are over. So I'm wishing Benny the best, and I'm absolutely wishing Gavin the best moving forward. As it pertains to Las Vegas, I begin with a mea culpa. I said all offseason Antonio Nocerino was not the problem in Miami. I can pretty successfully say that is not the case anymore. That roster was not good enough to do anything. When you see what Antonio did with more talent in Las Vegas, I'm not sure the coach helped that bad roster anymore.
No.
They were at Las Vegas this year, unwilling to play transitional football in a way that accentuated the explosiveness of their talent. They were afraid to play with the ball at their feet. I don't know a better way to put this other than they were boring. And you can't play in the entertainment capital of the world and be boring. Where they were under Dennis Sanchez was such an unbelievable turnaround that to watch it all evaporate in 6 months is as shocking as their rise. And I give Las Vegas credit because they are not in any way too far gone for looking around and going, this is not what we bargained for, and making a change now. There are instances in which cutting a coach loose after 11 games is a mistake. I don't think this is that.
I think that is all very well stated, and I would like to add just some names that will give this argument a little bit more depth. So much so that I wrote a letter to the owners, and I write it because I want the league to continue to grow and get better. So, to whom it may concern, in all front offices and ownership groups. That's as far as I got, is actually writing it down. People at home on YouTube, you can't see anything else, but that part was written down. The rest has to come from the top of the dome, just like analysis within a game. Mike, I ran a stat check. Since the start of the 2020 pandemic season, 95 coaches, either in a single team or multiple teams and multiple seasons, have donned the sideline for a USL Championship squad. 95. There is one thing, and one thing only, that is similar to almost every area of success, however you view that. Playoffs, top four, and titles, that has come along with every single one of them, and that's familiarity. Familiarity of this league. As it pertains to Nocerino and Dennis Sanchez in Las Vegas, you cannot have more different resumes coming into that head coaching position than they did. Nocerino as a player, literally a world-class player. Olympics, Italian national team, the European Championships, Juventus, multiple times, Milan. Like, you cannot put together a resume for a player and really have something better unless we're talking about a World Cup winner. I mean, that's the quality as a player that he brought to this sideline. But that doesn't necessarily translate to results. And the idea of him as a manager was so far-fetched that immediately, to your point, out of the blocks, you're going to get success. I referenced familiarity. Dennis Sanchez, Sacramento Republic. We talked about his pedigree with him specifically and everything that was prior to becoming the academy director for the Quails in the Western Conference of the USL Championship. And while certainly he was not a head coach, nor was he a lead assistant, he understood the whole league because he paid attention and he was smart. Familiarity is everything. If you break down, Mike, the great hires that have been guys that did not have head coaching experience within this league, but had an understanding of what it would take to be successful. Danny Cruz, Ben Pierman. Let's go a little bit more current. Danny Dicchio in Detroit, Cano Smith in Rhode Island. These guys were never given the nod as a lead person, but understood everything within the ecosystem of this league. Okay? Now, before we get to the hires of who's available, when you get to the vetting of these players, or these teams, excuse me, I want to list off some coaches that teams went and thought it was the right move to do. And I'm looking at you, Rowdies. I love you guys. I do. I think everything that you've done has been, for a long period of time, the standard bearer for this league, but you got to look around because right now it's not going right for Coleman on the sideline. We can look at Isidro Sanchez, both stops in Las Vegas, which is shocking that there was a second one brought back. John Pascarella, OKC. Jerson Echeverry, RGV. I'm just going to keep going down here. You hope that things turn around in Lexington, but if you keep going, I'm removing the two teams, Mike, by the way, just so that we're clear for historical value. Paul Hardiman, I don't know what that was in Orange County. All due respect, I think his knowledge as an individual within the game, Tab Ramos in Hartford, Harry Watling in Hartford. Hartford, pay attention because Brendan Burke is a good coach, but historically, you have made poor decisions as well. Go and get someone who understands and cares about what is in front of you, and you will get success. Do not go and get someone that has been something. Go and get someone that wants to be now. That is how you find success. So if there's any single team out there that is thinking about the idea that you need a coach, that you want to change in the front office, a couple of names to bring to mind. And we had this discussion prior to Oakland. But just so that everybody understands, available as a coach or not, it is worth a text. It is worth a phone call. John Hackworth, Ian Russell, Bladen Cloutier, Trevor James, Stephen Glass. Pay attention, guys. This isn't that hard. Get out of your own way. There are assets all over this league available to your disposal. And if you want to grow with this league, the only way to grow is to change from within. Because everybody else is doing it outside around you, and they're finding success. I promise you. My soapbox is gone, and I just want this to be a successful league and for people to stop making idiotic mistakes. I will step out of the way, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll throw this in the Nocerino commentary. For one, there was every time I spoke with him, I would say it was very blunt in the sense that what is the ultimate goal? To score more goals than the other team.
Great. Stop being so obtuse.
There is an element of whether it was a marginal language barrier, which I don't doubt, whether it was a connecting or working with a different kind of player than he had been around, whether it was just not wanting to be not obtuse with media, which I understand. The number of European coaches that I'm around that don't have trust in media because of how media is utilized there. Like, commentators don't get the same line of communication and the same expectation of we're growing this thing together. And it doesn't mean we're always going to be kind or that they're always going to be kind to us or like what we say or not like what we say. It's that there's an understanding that educating an audience or developing an audience or allowing people to better understand what they're doing and why can help everybody. Don't know that was there either. Las Vegas, 3-3-6. At this point a year ago, they were 3-7-2. And you might say, hey, they're not far off. But that completely misses the point that they were building to the 11-game unbeaten streak that put them at home in the playoffs. Miami, on the other hand, is now 4-5-1. They already have more points than they did all of last season following their 1-0 win over Rhode Island on the weekend. None of this is I don't dislike Antonio Nocerino. I wish him the best personally. Clearly it didn't work out. Kudos to the Lights for recognizing that and moving forward. Because you really did have a choice here. Hey, maybe it's the wrong guys. Maybe it's the wrong moment. Hey, maybe they're building towards something. I didn't see it. I don't think the Lights saw it either. And the Lights are out on the Nocerino era. All right, Dev, let's chat a little bit about some of the games from the weekend briefly. Loudoun and Charleston was the big one. Ends up in a draw in Virginia. First draw for each team, so we can now officially say that every team in the championship has kissed their sister this year. Okay. MD Myers. MD Myers in the 43rd. Moses Nyman scores the equalizer in 67. Charleston, more of the ball on the road, more shots, including 8 of the 11 on target. I look at Loudoun and I say the difference between them and a team that is going to compete to win the Shield at this exact juncture is another 2 to 3 pieces of depth. There's a reason they only went 3 deep off the bench, and it's minimum 2 to 3 pieces, and you hope you stay healthy. This is what happened to them last year where they started to look this good. But we'll see whether or not ownership is ready to pony relative to that likely need.
I would say that 2 to 3 is fair. Health scares me, and so does an acquisition. What if Abdulatif Abukura is no longer there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That scares the you-know-what out of me, and you will be SOL. And I'm not going to make any other statements of what your mind may think and what I'm saying. Yeah, 5 players. Simple to me. 5 players get you over the end. And I don't think from a financial standpoint that is really a stretch of a conversation. You know, Ryan Martin talked about the new partnerships of how this is going to look going forward. They're going to need it. And they're going to need a financial influx, a backing that, to me, from the youth system, might be able to provide you that, assuming the new president understands the league. I just talked about that a second ago. Juan David Torres does not belong in this league at all. I don't think so.
Above, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, meaning above. I think that – I know that player coming in was mis-scouted for so long. Credit to Lee Cohen and Ben Pearman for finding him and how that ended up. What a story. Basically dropped on the doorstep. But to keep him, and as a player, this ain't a one-trick pony anymore, man. He's good. He can attack from any side at any point in time, set pieces, the confidence he carries in one-on-one situations, his distribution, incredible vision, link-up play. Was worried for what it was going to look like in Charleston, and I don't really care. I thought Hugo Farreau was excellent in this game, by the way. I don't often give nods to goalkeepers, but Hugo Farreau kept them in it. Game was a little bit more wide open than I expected, and not that it was wide open overall, but I thought it was going to be a little bit tighter, and instead got to play a little bit. Joey Apononu, by the way, on the back line throughout all of this for Charleston, the win streak, the unbeaten streak, throughout everything. Can we please tip the cap on the fact that back line has basically been misfits who have been pieced together for the better portion of 5 weeks, and still they're finding a way to get success, Mike? Unreal.
Yeah. Charleston, they're going to be there. they're going to be there.
Let me ask you this question since we're on it. You're talking about going to be there. I was looking at the table earlier. Tell me who right now within this group you look at, and that's East and West, you look at and say they're a title contender besides Louisville and Charleston.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're hitting segment 3 where we talk about the Shield race, but
I'm not. It's called a setup, Mike.
Okay, we will get there. Stick around. Before we go to break, Lexington, it's now Baker's dozen without a win. That's Open Cup, that's Jaeger Cup, that's regular season. Last win, you have to go back to March against Southern Indiana. They fell 2-1. There was an awesome free kick goal by Nick Firmino in that game to take a lead. Monterey gets the late winner from the penalty spot, 75th minute. All the while, Elliot Goldthorpe gets loaned out to Tulsa, who are outperforming at this stage. Cameron Lancaster, we're going to talk to in a minute, goes back to Louisville. He's not on a small amount of money. Yankum is released by mutual decision. Two-parter, Lexington, they're not far off of where Rhode Island was. They're not Rhode Island, but they're 5 points off the pace. They're not that far away. But teams like Sacramento at the line, I don't expect them to sit there that much longer. Get it in gear really soon, or this is going to run.
Yeah, I would say that we historically have always seen, I say historically going back quite a few years, not just some of the newer teams that have come in. We've seen struggle with growing pains and what their identity is going to be, and to me that's what's playing out here. I don't really question any of the talent of the guys on the roster. Could it be deeper? Sure. Is there more quality available? Always. That's the argument for you and I on this show, Mike.
Sure.
But that being said, the identity of there's a lot of player movement. I've seen them in a couple of games move out of a 4 and a 3. Setting an identity for a team is so important to me, where you can then tweak the structure going forward. When you don't have that structure, guys' responsibilities change. If you look in the midfield, how deep do you want to play Sofiane Jafal? Do you want him to be a playmaker up high? When those conversations are occurring in multiple roles all over the pitch, Mike, it's difficult to find leadership. It's difficult to find goals. And certainly, as we're looking right now, it's difficult to find results. So I would try and dig a little bit deeper to see exactly what they want to be and stick to it. Live and die by it.
Yep.
Otherwise, this is only going to go further awry.
Yep. And may I suggest, how much better would this be if we were talking the
Give it to
potential
me.
relegation?
Oh, I
for
knew you were
Lexington,
going to say
Hartford,
it.
and Tampa.
Oh, my goodness. Tell me real quick. If you're sitting at home on a Saturday, right, are you watching the Rowdies in Lexington? Or are you watching Louisville, Detroit, a top 5 game? Like, no, I'm watching a relegation battle 12 games in.
I know.
What a mess it is. I'm here for it. Popcorn has to be kettle corn, by the way.
Okay. Well, the toilet bowls are going to be a lot more fun to watch moving forward. All right. When we come back, Cameron Lancaster is out of one rough situation and into a league-leading situation. The all-time scorer for Louisville City making a return for his third stint with the club. We chat with Cameron Lancaster finally on this show when we come back.
Let's get back to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everyone. It's USL All Access on this Tuesday night. Miss ain't part of the show. It's available tomorrow on the USL YouTube page as well as on the Sirius XM app. Louisville City is back in the national spotlight this week as they'll welcome Rhode Island to Lynn Family Stadium on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll see it on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. And this is an interview that is a long time coming. Among the championship's most prolific scorers of all time, finally a friend of the show. Louisville to Nashville, returning to Louisville, going to Lexington, and now back in Louisville again, where he is their all-time leading scorer. Cameron Lancaster is on the show. Cam, my man, finally, here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Look, obviously excited to have you here, but I know how happy Louisville is to have you back in town. A year away, helping Lexington springboard into the championship. Does that drive to the facility or the stadium feel like muscle memory, or what's it like getting back in town?
Yeah, it was nice. It took a little bit of getting used to, but no, since I've been there for the first couple of days, it's, muscle memory for sure.
Yeah, third stint in Louisville for you now. Think the story's already been told, but I actually want to start by going all the way back. Did I read at one point you left Louisville ahead of that first signing without a contract in hand? Is that right?
Honestly, I can't remember, but I mean, I remember I had to do a trial with James O'Connor just to get my contract. So yeah, there was that. And I mean, I've had numerous contracts at Louisville, so yeah, that could have been it.
Leave it to James.
Yeah.
James just dangling the carrot for one of the greatest to ever do it in league history. Cam, Mike talked about the familiarity, right, of driving back in, training facility, Lynn Family Stadium. By my count, at least senior level players, 14 new faces from the team that you left in 23. Certainly that doesn't include the academy guys, though maybe at the youth level they did get times to come over and train with them. Vetting has always been such a big thing for this team and creating such a quality culture, as that buzzword that everybody likes to use. Can you maybe talk about coming back into the group and familiarizing yourself with some of the new names compared to being sort of that lead guy, at least in terms of tenure in the locker room and goals over so many years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I'm the new guy coming in, so there's that kind of dynamic to deal with. But yeah, there's obviously the older guys there. There's Sean Tosh, there's Niall McCabe, there's Brian Ownby. But again, like you said, the vetting, like, everyone's a good person. They're all good people there, and they have the right mentality, and they fit the culture perfectly. So that's never changed.
Yeah. Did you ever find yourself out of the group text? Are you back in there now?
I'm not sure if I'm in it yet, to be honest. So yeah.
I'm glad I can just wave that flag and let everyone know, like, Cam
Yeah.
just needs to be back in the WhatsApp.
Yeah, just add them back in.
Yeah. Did you find yourself watching Louisville? I think a lot of players leave a club, and there's so many different ways in which you can depart. And obviously, in your case, it was positive when you went to Nashville. Really for everybody involved, knowing where they were headed.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find yourself rooting for Louisville at all? Was there any sting at any point as you went away and ultimately came back? And then, I guess, different league, but you're right down the road. Does watching more over the last year or two maybe allow you to step into this a little more knowledgeably than maybe otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, when I left for Nashville, I mean, I was going to Nashville for an MLS opportunity, so there was that. And I mean, obviously, I still had friends at the club, and I'd always be a fan if I'm at Louisville or not. So like, I was always keeping one eye on them and seeing how they're doing, and they always did well, and they always keep on doing well. So yeah, there was that. But yeah, no, I mean, I've always just wanted the club to do well, and they've always been doing well.
Kim, I want to talk about change here, but I'm actually going to make it personal before we go in between the white lines. What's the biggest difference between you as a player now compared to the one that donned the jersey for the first time almost a decade ago?
Oh, I mean, there's 10 years on my age. But you know, I think when the first time putting on the jersey, like I was coming off some major injuries, so physically there was things I had to deal with then. But now I think just experience and the understanding of my role within the team as a player, understanding how to get goals in different systems. So I think that's definitely changed, and I've grown in that aspect. Um, and I'd probably say, you know, like mentality wise, like my mentality growing up wasn't honestly the best, but then getting to Louisville and having that instilled into me and the understanding of what's needed to be a true professional. So I've got a lot of credit to give to Louisville for that.
I remember some of the uproar when John Hackworth came in, and mostly from the fans, to be clear,
Mm.
about how he toyed with systems and how they wanted to play compared to James O'Connor, right? Well, when you left in 23, Danny was messing around with a couple of different ideas on how he wanted to go and attack the game. That's a lot more consistent now, but it is a very different look than you throwing on 17 and run around as a single striker, regardless of how you want to do it defensively. Can you maybe give a fans a peek behind the curtain about, you talked about your role changing tactically, what's being asked of you now and how it applies to the group compared to when you left?
Yeah, I mean, I think tactically wise, like every match is going to be different. Every match is going to ask you different things. So you have to adapt to that. So yeah, I mean, the manager's going to ask you to play certain roles or different roles, not just me, but the whole squad. So there's always going to be changes, but as a player, you need to adapt. So you need to be able to give 100% in whatever role you're given.
To your point, it's you, it's Phil Goodrum, Ray Serrano's up there, Adrian Perez. Again, this is whether guys are healthy or not. Jensen Wilson involved in the conversation, right? Attacking wise, it is a very different idea. I mean, I can remember, all jokes aside, Watts and I jumping on a game and going, how many is he going to get today? Right? Like that's the lore, if you will, that it got to with you at certain points in time for Louisville. And record-breaking season or not, that's kind of always been the mantra. It's different now. There are so many different options for this team. Defensively, this team is much more tight-knit, kind of broke it down a little bit. How is that from a mentality standpoint? You talk about your growth as an individual. How is it where maybe you're not expected to score 20-plus goals every single year, and instead it's the growth of individuals around you for the betterment of the team? Not saying that it wasn't about the team before, but just the expectation stats-wise, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't feel the pressure with that. I mean, maybe I did previously, but now, like, after winning championships and after winning golden boots, like, I'll take a championship every day of the week. So I mean, it's always going to be team first, and whatever's needed of me or anyone that's in the squad, like, it's always going to be put the team first. If you need to run for your brother, you run for your brother. It's as simple as that. So, like, yeah, it's not down to any individual that's out there. It's about the collective.
While I am aware of the number change based upon the great staff that is at Louisville City, Jonathan Lintner, I'm sure he's listening
Mm.
somewhere, probably watching back to make sure that I don't get myself in trouble with the powers that be in Danny Cruz. 17 dawned on the
Yeah.
back for such a long period of time. You are no longer wearing that number. Taylor Davila obviously wears it within your midfield. Can you talk us about why you chose number 53?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, 17 is kind of my number, and I wish I could have had it, but like I'd never be the kind of person to take it off anyone or ask to take it off anyone. So I mean, I was just sitting down and thinking, what other numbers have I been? I've been 9, I've been 18, and then stumbled across a picture of me making my debut for Spurs, and it was 53. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I could change it up to that for a little bit.
Mike, I just stumbled across my Premier League appearance. No big deal. Throw
Yeah,
that, throw that in. Oh, subtle brag. We used to joke with John Hackworth prior to his departure that when you guys were building Lynn Family Stadium, there were so many voices that had tenure within that club, right? Paulo was still there as a player. Luke was
Mm.
still there at that point in time. Of course, Tosh there, and Niles never left, right?
Yeah.
We joked with Hack that he had a line put into the coach's office for a red fruit punch that was going to be brought up through a water fountain. He kind of went with it. It's a myth that no one has ever really proven, though no one's ever really denied. Any hand on any fun things in the locker room that have allowed you guys to experience some stuff? That is it a ping pong table? I know from guys that you're a little bit quieter, but did you have any influence on the build in the locker room for the boys?
I wouldn't say influence. I'm more of an observer, and I'll get involved if anything's going down. But yeah, there's a ping pong table in the locker room. There's a sort of stats and leaderboard, and I'll say I'm up there. I'm not at the top, but I'm up there. But no, we have a lot of fun, and the group is tight knit, and everyone gets on. So yeah, no, it's a good time in there.
Are you more successful on the ping pong table at the training facility or at the stadium? So you need a breakdown home and away, man. This is where you're struggling in the
Yeah, I
stats
know.
department.
Yeah, I'd say at the stadium.
At the stadium. Good to know.
Yeah.
While you certainly don't have a crystal ball, in a perfect world, does your career finish here at Louisville?
Um, yeah, you're right. I don't have a crystal ball. I feel like I've got a lot of football left in me. But again, at my age, I think I've really got to take it year by year, see how my body's feeling at the end of the season. And I mean, and again, it's not really down to me at the end of the day. If it depends on what teams want me. If Louisville want me, then I'm always going to want to be here. But yeah, I've got a lot of football left in me. We'll see at the end of the season where that takes me, and yeah, we'll see.
Love that.
Yeah.
One more for me, buddy, before Mike takes over. And it's an unplanned question. Jack Blake always talks about in his time off that he goes back across the pond. It's the only place he allows anybody to put ink on him. He's got a very specific person. Any new tats, or do you schedule anything that we haven't seen from the arsenal of the past?
No, I don't really care that much about who tattoos me. As you can probably see, I've got some pretty bad ones. So no, I mean, I've had tattoos in England, in Asia, in America. So yeah, no new tattoos for. I think it's been a year since I got
Oh,
the last one.
you're
So
falling
yeah, it's
behind,
been a
dude. You're
minute.
falling
Yeah,
behind.
I
We
know, I
should
know. I
get
mean,
one
there's not.
just for coming home, right?
Yeah, right. There's not enough space really.
It's funny. You said you have a lot of bad ones. Which is the best one?
Ooh, the best one. Um. You know what? There's a lot of meaningful ones. So I'd say they're probably the best ones. Quality wise, I'd say this one on my shoulder is pretty well done. Worst ones that I've got this little penguin on my ankle, which I regret fully. That is by far the worst one.
Why? Why did you get a penguin on your ankle?
It was cheap. It was half price, and I thought, why not? And then I got it done, and I was like, oh no.
I was gonna say what was her name, but the reality is, yeah, it was a funny
It
thing.
doesn't deserve a name.
No, that's fine. Cam, couple questions before we get you out of here. For one, you say you've got a lot of football left in you, and I certainly believe it. In terms of health, it's been an unfortunate fact over the course of your career, even before you set the Golden Boot mark and league scoring record. You dealt with that knee injury.
Mm.
How do you feel health-wise right now, and sort of rebuilding back to a point where you feel confident going into the back half of the year?
I feel good. I mean, year after year, you kind of understand your body more. You understand when you need to take the time off, when you need to get the recovery, when you need to push yourself in training. So no, I'm feeling good right now. Obviously, you never know when the next injury is going to come, and fingers crossed, touch wood, like I don't get another major one. But no, physically, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, it's funny. That's an elite athlete thing to say, that you understand your body more as you get older, because I'm the opposite. But
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there.
Oh yeah.
Cameron Lancaster is with us from Louisville City ahead of Lou City's game against Rhode Island on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. As it pertains to the game on Wednesday night, you weren't around for some of these Louisville, Rhode Island battles? Obviously knocked Louisville City out of the playoffs last year. Is that something that's been talked about within the team this week?
Um, yeah, it has a little bit. I mean, obviously losing at home for this club isn't the standard, so like that isn't what's gonna want to happen again. But yeah, like every game we focus on ourselves, we have the right mentality, we're gonna go into it full hearted and try and get the win.
Couple quick ones before we get you out of here. Obviously, you started with Lou City on a trial slugger into Lynn Family Stadium, the 2 championships, the winner in 17, the goal scoring record. What's your best memory of your time in Louisville?
Oh, there's a lot of them.
It's obviously
I'd
the
say
penguin
best
tattoo, Mike. Come
memory
on.
was yeah, it could have been. But no, the best memory I'll probably say the winning goal in the final 2017. But honestly, the most electric goal, the most memorable goal that I've scored would probably be SKC at home, last minute. God, I can't remember the year. I think it was 2019, but I just remember scoring last minute. Like the whole place was absolutely electric. So that's one that sticks out as well.
Yeah.
But overall, I'd say the winning goal, the header, 2017, speedy cross, Carl Smith foul throw, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cam, you've done a lot of different hairstyles in your years. The soccer way photo for you is this sweeping black emo cut. We've got the bleach. We've done a little bit of everything, bro. What's the best look you've ever had up top?
Oh, geez, best look I've had. That's a tough one. You know, I like the bleach look. At the moment, I'm just trying to keep the hair on my head. So yeah, I'll go with the bleach look. I don't know if that's going to come out ever again, but yeah, bleach look I liked a lot.
Devin, I think it's vital that you ask Cam the question that not only I think the people want to know, but that Cam wants to answer.
Yeah, Cam, listen, we had the opportunity with Canardo Forbes. Anybody that is on the Mount Rushmore of this league, certainly you're involved in that. We got to know, who's the best to ever do it? Can you give us 4 or 5 guys that you feel like should be on USL Championships Mount Rushmore?
Ooh, you know what? Start at the back. I think you have to go longevity. I'm going to go with Forrest Lasso. I mean, I've got Louisville players in my head, and I want to go Paco Craig. Paco's been up there for a long time. Midfield wise, I'm going to go Speedy. You can't deny Speedy. He's won 4 or 5 championships at different clubs, which is unheard of. And then I'm going to put Canardo in there because he has some nice words to say about me, and he's an absolute baller as well. So Canardo gets in there. Man, how many more have I got?
You got one left, and bro,
Oh, no,
I mean,
no.
positionally,
I've got too many names for that.
And the one rule is you can't use yourself. That's the only rule.
Perfectly fine. I feel like I need to put Brian in there, Brian Ownby. Who else? Niall's been at the top for a long time. Nah, I'll go with Brian.
Oh, the way you said nah at the end of that.
Dude, can I tell you this?
Trouble.
This is the most, and I give him credit, this is the most strategic placing of players that I've ever seen on Mount Rushmore. My man already didn't have a problem getting a drink in Louisville. Now his dinner by all of these boys is going to be bought for the rest of his life when they come back into Bourbon Town. Well done, buddy.
Last thing from me. If you hadn't come back to Louisville, outside of the people or going to the stadium, what's the one place that you missed most? It could be a restaurant. It could be your favorite bourbon joint. It could be going to see the horses. Your world. We're living in it.
You know what? It's going to have to be something to do with food, and I'm going to go Taco Luchador. I don't know if you know it, but they have the best Baja fish taco I've ever had in my life. So, yeah, Taco Luchador.
Yep.
Yeah,
know exactly where he's at. Yep.
Yeah.
Local sent me there. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
Well done.
This is the difference between Devin and I. Devin's like, yeah, I went to Louisville. I got the fish tacos. And I go to Louisville. I got the fried chicken.
Hey, they're both good.
Yeah, that's right. Dev, anything else for the man, or do we let him get ready for Wednesday?
Nah, man. Just we've said it so many times on this show without you being in our presence, and the opportunity to have you on to bring on, in my opinion, the greatest striker this league has ever seen. Certainly in terms of goals per minute, you are the best that has ever done it. Appreciate your time, man. The crazy schedule that is, and it's invaluable to us to get an idea of what's going on in your head, the success that you've achieved, and certainly what is to follow. Welcome home to Louisville, man. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Also, we're going to get you a Louisville bat hat so you can stop wearing Dodger blue. This is Kentucky, my brother. That's Cameron Lancaster. Miss a part of the interview. It's available tomorrow on the USL YouTube page or on the SiriusXM app. We're back to chat a little bit about where the Shield race stands at this point in a moment. You're listening to USL All Access.
Giving insight to all the biggest moments in Championship and League One. This is USL All Access on SiriusXM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
We're back. You already know what it is. USL All Access. If you miss any part of the show, available on the USL YouTube page tomorrow or the SiriusXM app. Mike Watts, Devon Kerr. How about we dig into the Shield race a little bit because, dare I say, we have a new co-leader. It's the old co-leader. The old leader, just leader. Louisville City is back into first place on points alongside Charleston. Only 2 losses, and they were in cup competitions to Loudoun and Minnesota. So Louisville City and Charleston both on 25 points. As it pertains to the Eastern Conference, and I think playoff seeding still carries so much weight. Let's look at this from a conference-by-conference perspective, Devon. Is this a 2 or a 3-horse race at this point? Because in the East, you go Louisville, Charleston on 25, Loudoun on 22. Then you go North Carolina at 20, Detroit at 17. I'm inclined to say, as I mentioned earlier, with Loudoun's depth as it is, it's a 2-horse race.
Yeah.
Does it feel that way to you?
Yeah, can't convince me otherwise. And listen, I believe in the project in Loudoun. I have for quite some time, and certainly the numbers that have been given to them, but you can't convince me that any of those teams, and I'm looking at the table right now, as you just go down from a points perspective, Loudoun, North Carolina, Detroit, Pittsburgh, by the way, Miami, you're about to get lapped by Louisville. That's what we're talking about for the 7th place team in the Eastern Conference. With a win tomorrow night, Louisville could go to 28 points. Miami's on 13. I don't know how else to describe it. It's 2 horses in the East, and it's not even close for me.
Okay, so that's what the East looks like. How about the West? I think the real question is who's the best challenger to New Mexico? Obviously, they won the number 1 seed last year with Eric Quill. So far under Dennis Sanchez, they have not skipped a beat. New Mexico 22. Tulsa is on 20. Tulsa. San Antonio on 20. El Paso on 20. Phoenix and Monterey Bay at 19 apiece. Who's the biggest threat out of this group to New Mexico United?
Ooh. That's a difficult one.
I may say it again. Tulsa.
That's no. I would say that for me, it's one of 2 teams, and I think I'm going to surprise you here, Mike.
El Paso?
One of them's El Paso. And
Yeah.
it is just Wilmer Cabrera's willingness to go and open it up, man, and beat the ever-living you-know-what out of your team. He will change.
Who saw this coming?
Dude, he will change 25 times in the first half just to get under your skin. They've got the depth to do it. They've got the speed. And tactically, they can change. Like, they have the changeability, morphability, whatever we want to look. They're freaking chameleons. There we go.
Yeah.
You know the other team? Right now, I say no to Tulsa because I don't trust the resume of what they've done. Same argument for San Antonio. Like, you beat Vegas, you beat the Rowdies. It doesn't really do anything for me. I think that's fair to say. Lexington, same conversation. Oakland, same conversation. Points-wise, we're talking about the worst teams in the league right now. It's the jersey I'm wearing, man. I believe in Phoenix. And my biggest concern for them, I said it 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, that the youth scares me a little bit. But the further we go down this rabbit hole, man, we're third away through the season, and they're playing teams that are twice their age, and they're tactically adept as well. He's got a belief in a team that is never say die. That's a scary thing We talked to Danny Cruz in Louisville. Danny said, you know what? I want to talk about how I want my group to change their mentality. And the mentality was don't concede as opposed to chasing goals. This team in Phoenix is just, they don't care how tall you are, how big you are, how many fights you've won. You toe the line because they're going to come out swinging. And that, to me, that character that Pop Maduka has instilled in that group is enough to chase results, and they've done it early on.
Yeah, I love the spine of that team.
Oh, dude.
I love the spine that they've got.
To be fair, it's the most consistent part, right?
Yes.
Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the Shield right now 2 horses? Is it the 2 East teams?
I would be shocked if come week 30 with 4 games to go that we're not talking, that we're not having the conversation that Louisville or Charleston won the race.
Yeah.
Remember, 4 less games because of Jaeger Cup. Everybody needs to know that at home. So, I would go a step further to say that if it approaches week 26, that is probably 3 teams. And I think we already know what they are in Louisville, Charleston, and New Mexico United. I don't see anything else right now, Mike, that would give us a reason to think that there's an opportunity now for someone else to change and get better. Anything's possible, but not over a 30-game season. They're too
you
good
look
right
at like a San Antonio. They've done their 6-game win streak, 5-game win streak.
They haven't beat anybody though.
Can you go do it again? And can you do it against a higher level competition? At the time,
they were my argument. They were my argument just before we go off air. Everybody at home, and I like the talent there. But you beat Las Vegas. You've lost or drawn good teams, which is not always the best argument. You got to eventually beat them. But you beat Las Vegas. You beat a heavily struggling and beat up Colorado Springs team. You beat Lexington. You beat Oakland. You beat literally the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. Everyone getting fired.
It's not a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
As we talked about in segment 1 in coaching, it's just called common sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. When we come back, we're going to preview the big ESPN2 game, Louisville, Rhode Island, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2, and tell you our favorite games from the weekend. It's next here on USL All Access.
You're listening to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. Here are your hosts, Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
We're back, everyone, on USL All Access, closing out on this Tuesday night. As mentioned throughout the show, Cameron Lancaster and Louisville City taking on Rhode Island FC on ESPN2 tomorrow night. Devin and I finally back together for the call of that one. Means, Devin, you've been locked in on preparation for that game. For fans that are unaware, Louisville City last year let Rhode Island off the mat a bit. Rhode Island very combative. Scored 5 at Lynn Family Stadium. Ended up being Louisville's only regular season home loss. And when the bracket came out in the playoffs, I think we all looked and said, Rhode Island could go to Louisville in the second round if things shake out a certain way. And that is how it went. And Louisville did get knocked out for the first time before the conference final in their history. So, Devin, dare I say, a little bit of revenge on Louisville's mind. If you're Rhode Island, it's an eerily similar position to where they were a year ago, maybe a little further along on 12 points through 11 games. But what do you make of the matchup that you and I get the glory to call tomorrow night?
I would start with Rhode Island, who, from a historical standpoint, is the only current team and the only Eastern Conference team ever that Louisville have never beaten. And that is a shocking statistic considering their levels of success. The 2 teams in USL Championship play that they failed to beat, well, they're never going to have a chance, the Real Monarchs and Los Dos, LA Galaxy 2, of course, the Monarchs in the 2019 final. Rhode Island, to me, is in a very similar place as it was last year. The difference is I believe this roster is better. I think they've struggled a little bit tactically with what they're trying to accomplish. Some of the matrices and how they're building, fitting Maxi Rodriguez in centrally. His role is similar to what we saw at Detroit. It's different, though, than what Rhode Island had last year, and so I don't think they found him enough in quality positions. I also think defensively they've struggled a little bit with the amount of freedom that they've given him. Very different than the quality that we saw. I don't know if you saw him last year. Louisville City is a very different conversation. This is now a defense-first team, and if you look at the stats, if you listen to Danny Cruz, this is something, probably the only thing they were interested in and working on in the offseason, and that's coming from one of the most prolific attacks we've ever seen grace this league. Second most goals in championship play. They could open up with the best of them, but the fear was that they weren't going to be able to defend when time matters most. So what have they done? Just 6 goals conceded in their first 11. Also top 5 in league history. They've been incredible, Mike. They still move the ball really, really well. I'd like to see them on the width and centrally see a little bit more combination play, because I know Danny Cruz talks about wanting to open this up, Mike. I think they're actually better when they open it up in groups and not isolated situations, which is where they've been. And Rhode Island's made mistakes defensively. It certainly favors the home squad, but we could have had that conversation last year 3 separate times, and all 3 times you could argue that Rhode Island got the best of them.
Yep, Rhode Island 2-0-1 against Louisville all time, and I use American nomenclature with my records. All right, Dev. A couple other games.
I use American wording too, dude.
Yeah, you do. This was a thing
win,
about
loss,
you.
draw. Win, loss, draw. That's it.
This is about other people. This is about other people. Dev, that game Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. We can't wait to have it. Couple other games on the weekend that you've got in mind. What's your favorite match?
There are a few, and I'm really interested in the Phoenix-Tulsa game. However, I think I probably have to lean in what you and I were chatting about just prior to coming on the final segment, and it's got to be the Sac San Antonio game. The reason I say that is I think Sac defensively has been much more tight-knit, much more the idea of how Neil Collins wants to be. Dense, squeezes you to the outside, doesn't give up high chance opportunities. That's not what it was early on. Guys are figuring out exactly where those inflection points are supposed to be when they win the ball and turn it over. They've been transitioning better. I mentioned about transitioning in groups for Louisville. Sac has started to do that. And San Antonio seems to have turned a corner with their 3-0 win. Now, the good news is it gives them confidence. The bad news is, as we talked about before, it's to a departing Antonio Nocerino and a Las Vegas Lights team. But you'll take the confidence any way that you can get it. I still don't trust this attack. They need to get healthy, and they need to believe in some of what is being put in front of them. It's better on the ball. It's just not great overall.
Yep. I would say the Louisville-Birmingham game has a little extra spice given the relationship that Mark Briggs and Danny Cruz have.
Yep.
So I'm intrigued to see that. There's always been a little bit of beef between the two clubs. But for me, it's Loudoun and Detroit. They play at 6 o'clock on Saturday. Loudoun obviously coming off the draw against Charleston. Did enough in that game. You obviously have Ryan Martin on. We both rate where they're at. As far as Detroit goes, going on the road, struggling to score, intrigued to see if they can find a little bit of magic. 1 goal could be enough in that game, in my mind, believe it or not. So we'll see whether or not that plays. All right, Dev, did you learn anything in this show?
I learned that it is possible to be more tired than I've ever been without birthing a child, and that you, in fact, can be more tired than I am with birthing a child. Welcome to the world, man.
Yeah, I learned I've got an amazing support system. This goes back for the last week and a half. Obviously was out last week. We were just bringing baby Michael home, and credit to Joe Malfa for stepping in the last few weeks as we've been running like chickens with our heads cut off. But really the reality is I learned my wife can keep baby Michael quiet enough to do this show. And she's been, you never knew how much you could love your spouse until you go through this, and I do. So for Devin, Emmett, Mike, we'll talk to you again next Tuesday night. So long, everybody.
This is USL All Access. If you missed any portion of the program, listen back anytime on the SXM app.